I know this is an uncertain time. I'm clear-eyed about that. I know you're clear-eyed about it. And it feels heavy. I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire.
Joining us now, Outkick.com host Tomi Lahren. Tomi, didn't the American people just take power away from these people?
Yeah, I think the problem that the Democrats have right now is that they understand in order to amass large crowds at rallies, which Bernie and AOC, to their credit, have been able to do, they have to go far, far to the left to energize folks, because the moderates, like Senator Slotkin and others, they're not energizing folks. They're not really getting a pulse from those groups of people who, quite frankly, are working class Americans who maybe once were Democrats and then switched their vote to Republican. They're watching Trump very closely, but they think they need to play to this woke, progressive, activist level of their base because that's what turns out to rallies. But they're not at all listening to the underbelly, which is the Democrat Party that just wants working class policies. They might actually be a competitive party again if they really tuned into that, but it's not exciting enough for them. It's not titillating enough. So they go far left, they go woke, they go AOC, they go Bernie. Best of luck to them if that's where they think their party is. I think they're sadly mistaken.
And when they try to go in the direction I think Americans want them to go, they kind of flub up. Bernie Sanders was on ABC yesterday actually praising Trump's attempts to crack down on fentanyl and secure the border. Whether he was talking the truth or not, or what he believed, is another question. But then he literally jumped out of his chair. Watch this.
Is there anything that you think Trump has done right?
Yeah, I mean, I think cracking down on fentanyl, making sure our borders are stronger. Look, nobody thinks that illegal immigration is appropriate. Alexandria is extraordinary. I am so impressed by her work in Congress and she inspires young people all over the country.
Would you like to see her join in the Senate?
Right now, we have, as I said, just a whole lot of people in the Congress. Okay, Jonathan, thanks.
Wait, I got one more. This is important.
Well, I asked you.
Okay.
You want to do nonsense, do nonsense.
No.
He just literally jumped out of the chair. What do you think happened?
Listen, I think that there are a lot of Democrats right now who are being pushed and prodded to go against Senator Schumer, and that makes them rather uncomfortable because they did that to Joe Biden and then they were left with Kamala Harris. So I think that they're trying to avoid doing the same thing, at least the ones that have some sense. We know what happened when they got rid of Joe Biden. They ended up with Kamala Harris, which might have actually been worse for the party. I don't know if you can get much worse than Joe Biden, but I think they're in a really uncomfortable place right now. I do have to give one thing to Senator Bernie Sanders, and this is the only credit I will give him. At least for the most part, this man is authentic. He says, I am a Democrat socialist. I want socialism. At least he's honest. That's more than a lot of Democrats can say.
Well, there are two Democrats that I can think of recently, one of which I don't really believe, which is the governor of California, the other, Senator Fetterman, who both of whom seem to understand that they need to kind of track to the middle. But that's about it. Can you think of anybody else?
Not that's getting national identity right now or really getting the airwaves, the attention. They put on the Jasmine Crockett's, the AOC's, the Bernies, because that's what gets ratings for these failing networks. But it's not going to bring their party back. They're in a real dilemma. Do they go with the passion and the energy, or do they go with the moderates that might actually win an election? Yeah. That's for them to decide. I have a feeling they're going to go far, far to the left.
Well, you can't get power unless you win an election, and they seem determined not to do that. Tomi, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Good to see you. Thanks so much.
Good to see you.